Yeah. And, let's kind of transition right here. And if people don't know how we typically do this show, is we ask, hey, what are some topics and, questions that you guys have? We do that
Mhm.
on Twitter. We do that on YouTube. If you guys put it in the Spotify or Apple Podcast, if you guys want to leave a review and put questions in the Apple Podcast reviews, that's totally fine. We'll talk about them coming from there. However, you guys ask us questions, we want to talk about them. And we got a question on, I believe it was Twitter. Nope, it was on YouTube. It comes from Jonathan Jones. Jonathan Jones always asking good questions. It says, how can the Ravens proceed? And this is a great question because this was just a major deadline, the
Yep.
franchise tag deadline. And the Ravens did something that not a lot of people were expecting. The reports initially were all Ravens are going to exclusive franchise tag him. The Ravens have now tagged Lamar Jackson, the non exclusive tag, meaning on March 16th, then he is able to go around and talk to people. It may be Monday, but I'm pretty sure it's the 16th. Or that may be when he can sign an offer sheet, the 16th, and he can talk Monday. But next week, basically, he can talk to other teams. Joshua, how should the Ravens be approaching the offseason at this point? Is it tunnel vision on Lamar? Is it going around and talking to teams about trading for other pieces? Is it just, hey, let's just sit back and relax and wait for the draft? How should they be handling the situation right now?
Honestly, if I'm EDC, if I'm Jonathan Harbaugh, I'm still playing for the future because at the end of the day, with or without the Lamar, the Ravens will still be an organization in the NFL. Not saying, and let me put this disclaimer out now, TTB family. Just because I said that does not mean I do not want Lamar Jackson in the building. I want him in the building. I want him to get us to the AFC Championship game. Hell, I want him to win and possibly get us to the Super Bowl and win Super Bowl MVP in a pro style offense. Something I've been preaching about since day one. And if you don't know, you need to go back and watch the old episodes. Make sure you sub up to the YouTube channel and also listen to the Apple Podcast and leave comments. Shameless plug. It doesn't matter. But anywho, um, I do feel like the Ravens need to continue moving forward and the next thing is sharpening up this wide receiver room. There are a lot of free agents in this year in the wide under the wide receivers that is under the age of 30. If you are going to go ahead and try to make a trade for a proven vet, be aggressive about it. I will wholeheartedly love for them to get a DeAndre Hopkins, maybe a Keenan Allen. Hell, Todd Monken has ties with Mike Evans. if if you if the Ravens are willing to throw a sweet deal, and I don't know how big Mike Evans' contract is, and if the Bucks is willing to hit take a little bit of that hit, by all means put him back with his one of his old OCs where he went for back to back 1,000-yard receiving seasons. I'm just saying, I'm just saying because if Lamar does come back, if he does not decide to sign with another team, whoever is at the quarterback position is going to need a veteran wide receiver they can depend on. We've been saying this for years. Now, the great thing about this non-exclusive tag, yes, it's a $32 million hit, but they still have money to play with. That's the good thing about it. And you still can pick up a wide receiver, a young guy, maybe an actual slot guy in this year's draft. Or or we do what we do best. Find an undrafted free agent. You know how to get those gems. I mean, we now got a wide receiver coach that has history developing. I know that. I know I'm putting a big axe on Greg Lewis, but hey, Baltimore hasn't been able to produce a wide receiver. I'm gonna say it since Torrey Smith. I'm gonna say it. We haven't really had a wide receiver since Torrey Smith. You may saw a flash here or there from a Mark Clayton, a Clarence Moore, Chris Moore, maybe Marlon Brown, which honestly I thought was going to be a big name in Baltimore, but hey, didn't happen. So I would definitely continue moving forward. Make adjustments, make cap space. See if you can um, save some money. Me personally, I would be finding a way to cut Michael Pierce because he just wasted our time. No, it was no disrespect to him, but I mean, Justin Metabike, Broderick Washington, how even Travis Jones stepped up tremendously, and we didn't lose a beat on that defensive line without Michael Pierce being there. Even when Calais Campbell had to sit out a couple games, those young guys still stepped up and did their thing. So, I mean, if you can move money around, see if you can restructure a couple deals, see if you can reach out to a guy here or there, maybe be aggressive and make a trade to upgrade our wide receiver room, maybe find a corner possibly. See if Jason Pierre-Paul is willing to come back on a vet minimum. See if we can work out a deal with Justin Houston if he wants to come back. Things of that nature. But you have to constantly work on upgrading your team and fill those areas where we're hurting at.
Yeah, and something that I want to bring up, you mentioned cutting some players.
Yeah.
Shout out to Raven Salary Cap on Twitter. They said, or he said, Brian said, Ravens are $9 million over the cap. They have until next Wednesday, the 15th, to clear that cap space. So that's the other thing they have to be focusing on, is figuring out which players to cycle in and out. Because there is, Joshua brought up a couple of names, a guy like Michael Pierce. You can obviously restructure contracts that, you don't have to cut players to save up money. But right now they need to focus on figuring out what they're going to do in order to stay under that cap. And I don't think they're going to do anything drastic. I'm not expecting a Chuck Clark cut or trade. I'm not expecting a Gus Edwards cut. Probably expecting some restructures, but I think that's probably what we're going to be seeing in the next week. Like, I don't think we're going to be hearing Ravens meeting with Lamar Jackson in, Miami right now, or in Lamar Jackson's hometown or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's going to be Ravens meeting with free, Odell Beckham Jr. I think it's going to be Ravens restructure. Maybe it's Ronnie Stanley's contract, or maybe they extend somebody, right? Maybe they give a contract extension to a player like a Calais Campbell, who, if you give him an extension and you push the money forward and, do the signing bonus, give him a 2-year deal again. I think that's what we did last year, where it's like, okay, let's just push it again. And, if you want to retire, totally fine. We'll give you your money now. Doing something like that. I'm not expecting them to do anything crazy, go after trades. I feel like right now the Ravens' play with this whole situation was, let's let the market figure out what Lamar Jackson's going to get paid and let's pay it.
Mm-hmm.
But in order for the market to do that, you got to let the market do it, which means you got to give them time. You got to make sure that the market knows exactly who's involved, what teams are offering, let Lamar speak with those teams. And that's going to take some time. I'm not expecting the Ravens to, or a team to give Lamar Jackson an offer. I mean, there may be a team that gives Lamar an offer, but it's probably not an offer he accepts. No, like crazy, good offers that Lamar's like, okay, I'm going to sign this offer sheet. I'm not expecting that for months. Like, it may be after the draft when something happens. Because teams want to say, hey, maybe we get our quarterback. We don't want to sign Lamar and then get our quarterback. And the longer it takes, I think the greater the benefit for the Baltimore Ravens. Because, then it's like, oh, okay, Lamar, you're not signed. Why don't you talk to us? We'll see if we can get a deal. Or you're going to play for us on a $32 million cap, which is not very much for a superstar quarterback. So I think overall the Ravens are in a good spot. Obviously they have a couple of things that they can do and work on, but overall I think they're kind of crushing it. But Joshua, is there anyone in terms of cuts that you think could happen in the next week just to save a little bit of money?
I mean, honestly, I wouldn't want to cut him. I'm big on cutting Michael Pierce personally. It's not, like I said, it's nothing against him. He started his career off here as a Raven. He had great moments, great flashes. He went off to he went off to get his money in Minnesota, and he came back, to the team where it all started. And unfortunately, it hasn't worked out because of either personal reasons or injuries this last year. But I definitely would love for us to try to make a move with Chuck Clark. There are teams that actually do need a safety. I do believe the Bills are looking for a safety. Carolina Panthers could look for a safety. Maybe we can get a 4th round. I'm not even asking for no 3rd. I'm not insane, y'all. A 4th, 5th round, I'm willing to work with that. We can always find a diamond in the rough with a fourth or fifth rounder. We obviously showed that last year how those guys contributed to our past season. Um, there are teams that are looking for a running back. Gus Edwards is still serviceable. Um, maybe he wants the opportunity to be a starter. I think he does deserve the opportunity to be a starter. The only thing, at the end of the day, he has to show that he still has it to be a number one feature back in someone's offense. So, I mean, you could definitely make moves like that. Who else? Maybe I don't think Marcus Williams' contract he won't hurt us till like year 3 in his contract. I don't believe.
I mean, you can always restructure.
I mean, yeah, true.
Like he's gonna have a cap hit.
Yeah.
How much is it gonna be? I feel like every offseason we restructure Ronnie and we may restructure a guy like Mark Andrews.
Mm-hmm.
We could extend a guy like potentially an offensive line. Maybe it's like Morgan Moses, right? We gave him a 2-year deal. It was, and we do hey, why don't we extend this a year for him?
Yeah.
Or not? Or we go, you know what? We kind of really like our backup in Daniel Falele, which we're still hoping. We still believe in him. I feel like we've kind of given up on big sexy Ben Cleveland. But
I thought, one big old thing. We need to either restructure that how to Patrick Ricard's deal or see if we can get him out of here. I forgot about that because in this Todd Monken's offense, I know Todd Monken is going to try to use. I'm not going to say he's going to be completely on the bench. Don't get me wrong, y'all. If Todd Monken obviously is about to take a look at the personnel and see what's available and how players can be used. But I feel like Patrick Ricard is another one deal that could either be restructured or possibly cut.